Greetings, humanity! Today is Wednesday, February 25th, 2026. Let's grok the news. I'm Robert Gardner, using Grok each weekday to help me search out and to summarize the biggest headlines in the news today. You also get the benefit of this observer's opinions. We review a roundup of the most critical reports in the world from Washington, D.C., Kiev, Tehran, Puerto Vallarta, Kordofan, Paris, and the rest of the world. But first, a deep dive into today's top story right after this. M.S. Gardner, my wife, is author of last year's Moon Meridian Prize winner from April Gloaming Publishing, Wolf's Bane, a dark, serious, modern take on an old fairy tale. You've never heard Little Red Riding Hood told like this. It's a page-turning Southern Gothic novella for adults. It's one you can't put down, and it won't put you down either. Wolf's Bane, available now at thecuriousauthor.com. All one word, thecuriousauthor.com, or, of course, on Amazon. And now, let's grok the most important news in the world today, starting with our lead story, Dateline Washington, D.C., in his record-breaking, nearly 2-hour State of the Union address to a joint session of Congress Tuesday night, President Donald Trump painted an upbeat picture of a resurgent America, declaring a turnaround for the ages, with the nation now bigger, better, richer, and stronger than ever before. He touted economic successes, including rising incomes, a booming stock market, tamed inflation, lower energy prices, and strong job growth, while blaming Democrats for an ongoing affordability crisis and past border chaos that he said allowed millions of unvetted migrants to enter. Trump highlighted border security gains, mass deportation efforts, and crimes linked to illegal aliens, urging Congress to pass legislation for voter citizenship proof, limits on mail ballots, and bans on illegal alien voters obtaining commercial driver's licenses, which is one way they get in to vote. He honored military heroes, awarding the Congressional Medal of Honor to wounded service members and the Presidential Medal of Freedom to U.S. Olympic hockey goaltender Connor Hellebuyck for gold medal victory. On foreign policy, Trump asserted past U.S. strikes obliterated Iran's nuclear program, warned that Tehran would never acquire nuclear weapons, and expressed preference for diplomacy, even as there is a major regional military buildup. He defended his tariff regime, implementing new 10% global duties, despite a recent Supreme Court setback, predicting that they could eventually replace income taxes. The combative speech, the longest in history, featured taunts at Democrats who heckled on immigration and boycotted parts of it, setting the stage for midterm battles just 8 months from now. And now we grok the headlines from around the globe. Dateline Kiev. Ukraine somberly marked 4 years since Russia's full-scale invasion, with ceremonies remembering the dead, as President Zelenskyy declared that Moscow has not won, despite ongoing attacks and frozen front lines. Ukraine cannot claim to have won anything at all. Nobody wins in a situation like this. Amid devastation and resilience, calls grew for sustained international support, still more money and treasure to counter Russia's advances, the war now entering its 5th year, showing no clear end, as it has not and will not until they have fought to the last Ukrainian. Dateline Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Chaos gripped parts of Mexico following the killing of Jalisco New Generation cartel leader Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, alias El Mencho. This was done in a U.S. military-backed raid. Retaliatory violence, including rampages, torched vehicles, prison breaks, tourist shelter warnings and cruise route changes across multiple states. Dateline Jerusalem. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi began a 2-day historic visit to Israel, deepening defense, tech, and strategic ties amid U.S.-Iran tensions and the Gaza war. Critics labeled it a betrayal of India's anti-colonial legacy and Palestinian support, while supporters hailed it as pragmatic cooperation. Dateline Beijing. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz has arrived for his inaugural visit to China, aiming to reset strained trade relations amid widening economic imbalances, rivalry in key industries, and efforts to address Germany's dependence on Chinese markets. Dateline the U.S. Northeast. A major blizzard hammered the U.S. East Coast, causing over 5,000 flight cancellations, record snowfall accumulations, widespread travel chaos, and ongoing recovery efforts as a brief additional storm threatened more disruptions. And I can just hear people saying, where's the global warming now? Dateline Kordofan in the Sudan. Sudan's civil war intensified with drone strikes targeting the gold and oil-rich Kordofan zone as a pivotal new front line. The UN Security Council condemned the Rapid Support Forces RSF attacks and renewed calls for an end to the devastating conflict. You know, like UN speeches always do and never accomplish. Dateline Tokyo and Beijing. China imposed import restrictions on 40 Japanese entities over alleged military ties, further escalating tensions. There's that phrase again. Further escalating tensions between Tokyo and Beijing amid accusations of remilitarization and broader regional security frictions. Dateline Yonaguni Island, Japan. Japan has announced plans to deploy advanced missiles on Yonaguni Island, which is close to Taiwan, and to do so by 2031, bolstering defenses amid rising regional threats and security concerns in the Indo-Pacific. Dateline Dakar. Senegal's prime minister proposed tougher anti-LGBT legislation, including doubling prison terms for same-sex acts, drawing international concern over human rights implications in the West African nation. They never seem to be worried about it in the Muslim nations, where prison terms are the least that could happen. Dateline Canberra. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese of Australia was evacuated from Parliament amid a bomb threat linked to a Shen Yun dance performance from China, prompting calls to turn the heat down on divisive rhetoric surrounding the event. Dateline Paris. The Louvre Museum's director resigned. This is months after a high-profile $102 million jewel heist. She resigned amid ongoing fallout from security failures at the iconic institution, where the security head also resigned. Dateline Brazil. Floods and landslides killed at least 25 people across parts of Brazil, with search and rescue operations continuing amid heavy rains and widespread damage. Dateline Ottawa. Canadian officials summoned senior OpenAI executives expressing disappointment over a school shooting in Tumbler Ridge, allegedly influenced by AI and ChatGPT, highlighting concerns about technology's role in violence. This observer thinks they should be concerned about the use of mind and body-altering drugs by transsexuals. Dateline Indian Ocean. The U.S. military has seized its third ship linked to Venezuela in the Indian Ocean, part of ongoing operations targeting illicit networks in international waters. This observer would like to comment that this is completely stifling China's fuel operations. Stay tuned. Dateline Syria. Syria has grappled with twin threats as Assad loyalists launched attacks in the west while ISIS struck in the east, complicating the fragile post-conflict landscape. Dateline Kiev and Washington. The U.S. has warned Ukraine against any strikes that could hit American interests following Russian energy-related attacks, underscoring tensions in Allied coordinations. If you didn't know, Ukraine has bombed fuel facilities that provide most of the fuel for a couple of NATO nations, including Hungary. Dateline Bali, Indonesia. Severe flooding forced the evacuation of tourists and residents in parts of Bali, disrupting travel and prompting emergency responses in the popular island destination. And finally, Dateline Pretoria. South Africa successfully secured the release and repatriation of 11 nationals that were lured into fighting on Russia's side in the Ukraine war, addressing concerns over recruitment and mercenary involvement. I thank you for listening. Please join me tomorrow to once again grok the news. I'm Robert Gardner. Godspeed and God bless.